Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk in our final game of the day between Team Liquid and Kingzone. And after beating RNG earlier, the NALCS champions are now looking to continue their climb up the standings. For Kingzone, however, they've definitely looked vulnerable in their last couple games.
Yeah, and I think all eyes, for me at least, are going towards Con into the top lane. I think he's had a really rough tournament. Day 1 was okay. Day 2, definitely taking a nosedive. And then Day 3, it's just really been the ace in the hole.
I'll go down to Team Liquid's bot side then and just go opposite away from Khan specifically, because I think the game they played earlier, it was one around Doublelift and Ole, specifically the Morgana pick, which landed so many bindings early, which allowed them to actually use the winning matchup to win the lane. Doublelift in his interview said finally he gets to play a matchup where he can actually win. Yep. And they managed to do it. So that is going to be a key thing to look at in this draft, because we know Team Liquid needs Doublelift to carry. Otherwise, they're not going to win.
Especially because a lot of the time, Kingzone will leave Prey and Gorilla isolated on their own, little island before they take the entire team and pick them up. So there should be an opportunity where TL could possibly hit Kingzone there, unless they make some draft adjustments and prioritize, the Soraka Ezreal.
And that island, it sucks. It's probably great back in Korea where you can sit alone, no one's going to attack you. Does not happen here. People keep showing up on your island and keep beating you.
All right, well, outside of that AD carry matchup in the bot lane, or rather duo matchup in the bot lane, we talk about Khan and perhaps being an underperformer for Kingzone in comparison to the expectation of this world-class player.
Absolutely. I mean, look what happened in the Yasuo versus Gnar game we saw earlier today. But I think this is a little bit in tandem with the jungle performance. Because Longzhu in general has underperformed expectations with the 2 losses. But having a strong jungle is paramount to having a strong top lane. And I think Peanut has also had a little bit of an underperforming tournament. He was the biggest lead getter in the LCK with the best gold differential of his teammates in wins, and he hasn't actually been generating advantages. Trundle is an interesting pick for him because it doesn't have the power clears that the junglers he usually takes over games with do, yet it's such a strong team-fighting champion. So either I feel like they don't play to Peanut's strengths and do late-game team-fighting, or they have to pick him a faster clearing jungler, like an Olaf or a Skarner.
And
at that point, they're playing up-tempo with a carry for Khan and going right back to that strategy. And they have kind of danced between both of those strategies the whole time.
What's interesting to me is then how that matchup would define itself across the side. Because you have Impact, who has certainly been suffering in the tournament, very hit and miss, probably one of the weaker top laners of the tournament. And if Khan's underperforming, suddenly it looks like maybe Impact's not going to get punished so hard. Then you have Peanut, who's fumbling, versus xMiffy, who is the linchpin for Team Liquid.
Yeah, and this is what I find so interesting, because if xMiffy can get Trundle, and you can put Impact on a tank that is playing to Team Liquid's strengths. And also, just with the way the power of the game is right now, I feel like if Kingzone wants to play to their strengths, they have to almost overpower Team Liquid. Because if Kingzone then plays a team-fighting composition with a slow-clearing jungler, that doesn't play to their strengths. They could still be better than Team Liquid in that game, but I feel like it's interesting.
I also want to add on to Peanut's performance back in LCK. An element that's kind of missing now is BDD's pressure in the mid lane, which was such a key part back in the LCK. He would always push, you could roam with him, Peanut could do whatever he wanted to because I was backup. I feel like a lot of the pushing champions have been nerfed a little bit coming into this. I think it's a lot harder to just pick a Taliyah, push in the lane, or Ryze. Some of his early wave clear got nerfed as well. And it has made it a little bit harder for BDD to play that style. And I either want to see BDD on just like a hard carry, where they're like actually trying to play around him a bit, like we're seeing with Fnatic and Caps, because we know he can do it. Or I want to see him just show that at least he's way better than Pobuilder in lane. Because I think that could be a big advantage for Kingzone.
And I don't want to put words in your guys' mouth, but to me, it kind of feels like we're dancing on this idea that, the stars could align, that Team Liquid actually stylistically could be favored here. But the problem that I have is that they need to still execute that in draft to then execute it in game. And that's where I think the fumbles are. Against RNG certainly fumbled that draft and gave away a lot of power into Team Liquid style. I don't think Kingzone fall into the same trap.
I agree with you. I mean, I didn't predict Team Liquid to win against RNG. And they're 1-5. We were coming into the day trying to figure out what we're going to do with Liquid being 0-6 and how we're going to cover that. So they're definitely the underdogs here. I definitely don't give them a great chance. But I did get a chance to catch up with Pobuilder and Doublelift after their win, and they were really happy and relieved. Like, we've heard other teams in interviews talking about, hey, I don't think Team Liquid should be winless. They have shown better than this. And there is a lot of relief that comes from no longer being winless. So
are they a super emotion, momentum-based team?
And we think Kingzone potentially is tiltable as well,
Right.
right? We've seen them 0-3 against Samsung at Worlds. We've seen Con and BDD now a couple times internationally, and they've never looked the same as they have in Korea. So I'm not saying it would happen, but it could.
Right, but so in this style, or in rather this discussion of style for each of these teams and champions that would go along with it, I want to go back to that top lane. We saw Impact on the Shen today. We've seen Con on every